Buon Natale, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Blessed Yule, creeps! This is a very special episode of History Rants where I am going to combine my two favorite things, which is Christmas history and Christmas movies. But before I get to all the facts and personal opinions, I would love it if you guys would give me the very generous, so sweet holiday gift of massacring the subscribe button, because I have recently found out that 90% of you, 90, that watch my stuff aren't subscribed. What the f? So I'm gonna sit here and wait while you guys go ahead and slaughter that subscribe button, because I know you guys want to subscribe to the channel and not miss anything. So I'll give you a minute. I'll wait. Did you guys hit it? Awesome. Now hold on to your jingle bells, creeps, because I know you guys know me as the macabre girl. She loves death and haunted places. And yes, that is definitely very true. But there is a secret that you guys should know about me. For 2 months out of the year, my cobwebs sparkle. My crypt is lined with garlands galore, and I'm haunted by little mini Santas all over my apartment. For 2 months out of the year, I swap my dark robes for glittery, cheery ones, and I'm not gonna apologize, okay? Capiche? We all know Santa lives in the North Pole, right? But have you ever stopped to wonder why the hell he lives there and where did that legend come from? Well, I'm gonna tell ya. And then I'm going to do something which I am so excited to do. I'm going to break down what I feel is the best top 5 movie North Poles of all time, based on my very secret rating system of Christmas magic, creativity, and historical authenticity, if there can be such a thing. But before we get into all of that, I need some ranting fuel. So it's time for a Spooktail shout out. This cute little ornament, my friends, encompasses my North Pole sour, which you can get the recipe for on my Instagram. The picture's different. It's a different glass. Who cares? I'll be using my hands a lot, okay? I needed a baby-proof, spill-proof drink for this one. It's extra merry. It's delicious. Ching ching, creeps. I guess we do have to tackle, like, who is Santa Claus and was he a historical person? Well, kind of, sort of, yes. The original St. Nicholas is a 4th century bishop. He lived in Myra, Turkey, which was then a Roman city, and he was just like this really generous guy that would go on to become St. Nicholas and the patron saint of sailors, merchants, and prostitutes. God, you know I love it. You know I do. The legend goes that his family was very wealthy, his parents died, and he inherited all that wealth, but he was a part of the monastic order, and you're not supposed to have wares and worldly goods, so he just sort of started secretly giving away money and presents. That caught on, and people started giving gifts on St. Nicholas's Day. But this is not about jolly old St. Nick. No, this is not a history rant on Santa. This is a history rant on the North freaking Pole. Obviously, Myra or Mira, Turkey, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, is not the Arctic. So at what point do we have Santa and his little elves and his little cookie-eating self chilling in a snowy wonderland? Well, his transition to the Arctic is an interesting tale, and I will just side note this with the North Pole, which is an actual place on a floating seabed in the Arctic, belongs to nobody. However, Russia did try to claim it with the flagpole once, but that's a whole other story. The North Pole and Santa don't become a thing until the 1800s, which in my humble opinion is the century of modern Christmas. We started off the century in 1812 with the Brothers Grimm writing Hansel and Gretel, which solidifies gingerbread houses as like a Christmas tradition. And if you watched my History of Gingerbread episode, you already know that super spicy fact. Then in 1823, the poem The Night Before Christmas is published by Clement Clarke Moore, where the first idea of Santa in a sleigh being pulled by 8 tiny reindeer is introduced. And then in the 1840s, you kind of have this like triple whammy. So with both the publication of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens in 1843 and having German-born Prince Albert in the household of the queen because he's married to her, the freaking royal palace. Christmas trees now are like a very mainstream thing. I don't want to say that they hadn't been celebrated. Obviously, it's a pagan tradition and Germans had been bringing in Christmas trees for, centuries. However, in England, it wasn't as big of a tradition until those two things kind of coincided and it became fashionable because now Kensington Palace was all outfitted with Christmas trees. The really important thing that also happened in the 1840s was you have all of these first expeditions happening into the Arctic. And to the civilized world, the Arctic was pretty much as exotic and mysterious as like Egypt, which is where the word gypsy comes from, and that's a whole other thing. But basically, the Arctic to the people in the 1840s, the Victorian era, was this really magical, snowy wonderland where anything or anyone could live and be possible. So, all of this leads up to when Thomas Nast, who was a German-born American cartoonist working at Harper's Weekly, he had been hired to illustrate political news and satire, and whose work is still used to this day. He created the elephant and donkey that we still use for the Democratic and Republican parties. His work really kind of actually brought down some crazy people, which is amazing. But he was tasked in 1863 to illustrate the cover of their Christmas paper. Now, this was a huge ask because it's 1863. It's the middle of the Civil War. Things at this point are not going great for the Union soldiers. It was a tall order to try to illustrate this paper when things were really not happy. So what he decided to do was he depicted Santa at a Union camp handing out presents and letters to the soldiers who were parted from their loved ones. And it's called Santa Claus at Camp, and it's beautiful. This led to 20 years of illustrations of Santa by Nast. And over those 2 decades, he developed Santa from this kind of elvish man to the very round, jovial Santa we all know and love today. I mean, this man literally created what we think of as Christmas. He is the one who decided to take inspiration from all those Arctic explorations in the 1840s and move Santa's magical village to the Arctic. The man created the lore of elves making toys in workshops. He created the imagery of the naughty and nice list, Santa going down to the chimneys. The point is, pretty much every version of the North Pole that we have to this day is some derivative from Thomas Nast's illustrations. He is the one that set the tone for North Poles forever. The paper actually eventually encouraged him to publish all 126 Christmas illustrations he had made, and he did publish in a book called Christmas Drawings for the Human Race. And if anybody has a first edition, a copy of that book, I would be forever grateful. So what movies have done Nast the best justice? It is time to break down my 5 favorite Christmas North Poles in movies of all time, based on Christmas magic, creativity, and historical influence. Now we all know my historical influence, which I'll be basing this, is Thomas Nast's illustrations and nothing else. Have a sip, y'all. It's about to get weird and very nerdy. Number 5, Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause. Now, don't come at me, okay? I know that this is the least liked in the trilogy, and okay, listen, I can get behind that. We don't have Bernard. It's the 3rd one. We're definitely stretching a bit, but we see the most of this world's North Pole in this film, okay? We get glimpses in the 1st and the 2nd, and yes, we will be touching on that. But this film pretty much exclusively takes place in the NP, and I have some arguments as to why their North Pole is pretty awesome. It's got some highlights, and maybe I will convince you guys this movie is still a bit of a banger. When they rush Carol, now Mrs. Claus, into the little Elfie hospital, adorable, super great creativity. Santa's big-ass face fireplace, don't ask me why, but I love it. The village itself, exactly what I need from North Pole. All of the buildings are warm and cozy and Tudor/gingerbread styled, which I'm particularly psyched about. When they change all the signs to pretend like they're in Canada, when the parents come to town, So clever. The toy factory, it's beautiful with lots of gold accents, very Victorian in nature, which gives it points for historical authenticity. The snow globe vault, okay, probably gets the highest marks for this film. It is so creative. It is so freaking magical. The lore they created here is amazing, and the amazing callback to Charlie's snow globe from the original film, perfection. But what officially lands this North Pole on our list is Santa's kitchen. I can't even lie. It's amazing. That giant copper stove, that conveyor belt going into the oven of just sweets, basically solidified in the fact that Santa only ever eats sweets. It's just so creative. It's so magical. It's exactly what I pictured Santa's kitchen to look like, and I love it. I love it so much. It's so cute. It's so cute. I love sweets. Number 4. Fred Claus. Now, friends, don't drink the Kool-Aid when people try to tell you that this Vince Vaughn and Paul Giamatti movie is trash, okay? It's comedic Christmas brilliance, and I will tell you why. Off the bat, creativity. Baby Claus, so cute. Cutting down the tree, giving away his presents. He's a little fat. He comes out, ho, ho, ho. So cute. I want that baby. He's so freaking cute. I love that little boy. Then you have Louis Chris as a little toy factory elf DJ. Amazing. Kathy Bates as the mom. Come on. It's so good. But this movie really shines when it comes to their North Pole. The Village, impeccable. Very reminiscent of Santa Claus 2 and 3. It's Victorian. It's cozy. It's kind of got Bavarian little buildings. It's just, God, it's so cozy and it's warm and it's got gilding and beautiful stained glass windows and dark wood. But the pub and the twinkling lights in the pub, oh my God, I've been looking for those twinkling lights my entire life. Willie's room and the tiny bunk beds, so much creativity. The giant naughty or nice snow globe with like reader board. Talk about a very Christmas magic and creative way to take something kind of ancient and modernize it. It's like their version of a computer, except it's a snow globe. It's magical. I love it. It gives me all of the Christmas feels. The naughty and nice stamps that Vince Vaughn is just like stamping also gets him points because it's looking fresh as hell. I don't know, I love him. I remember seeing this movie in the theater and thinking like, A, I always love Vince Vaughn's comedy, but B, this movie just felt magical. You watch a lot of Christmas films, they don't give you that oomph that you need. You want that Christmas magic. You want to feel like you're being freaking hugged by a snowman. And this movie does it. Like, their North Pole is lacking no details. Their toy factory is massive. When Willie's giving Vince Vaughn the tour of the North Pole, like their toy factory is probably their most impressive part of their North Pole village. It is huge. There's conveyor belt after conveyor belt of them like making each toy, like the bikes. There's all these great glamour shots of the elves doing their work. The mail room is amazing. And when they turn them, like, you know, they turn the big lever, and when Kevin Spacey shuts them down, all the lights go off, and then the lights come back on, and you get that beautiful overhead shot, and you really get to see how massive this village is. Oh my God, so good. Number 3, The Christmas Chronicles 2. I need to have a sip before I get into this one because it's just so magical. I can barely contain myself. The first Christmas Chronicles, amazing. I can make a whole other rant about my favorite top Santas, but I'll just say this. Kurt Russell, one of my favorite Santas of all time. I love his swagger. He actually makes Santa hot, which is something I've been against my entire life, but it works here. But my God, the North Pole Village in the Christmas Chronicles 2 is one for the books, folks. I just need to ask, did anybody else tear up when they saw the giant tree in the middle of the village? Because it just hit hard. Or the Christmas star, which was lit from the light of the Star of Bethlehem. Way to bring it all the way around to Christianity and be very inclusive, which this film does amazingly. I just want to take a second to appreciate the incredible lore that this film brought in from different traditions around the world. The fact that they even have a Yule cat is incredible. You have the different elves and different parts. First of all, the Claus's personal home is exactly what I always pictured Santa Claus's house to look like. And yes, it is helped by the fact that it's Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, which is arguably one of the best couples of all time, and definitely to play Mr. and Mrs. Claus. However, that's not the point here. The point here, it's dark wood, it's got stained glass, it's got big, lush furniture and rich fabrics, and it just makes you want to cozy up. I also want to give a shout out to the reindeer barn in this one because I feel like it's just exactly what I always pictured a reindeer barn to look like. One of the most incredibly creative things about this film, particularly to me, is how the North Pole is shielded from the rest of the world by the Aurora Borealis. And that's incredible. And because it's shielded, nothing can get in or out, which means in the center of the town, they have to have snow cannons so they can get fresh snow in the North Pole. So you have all those cute little elves. God, those little elves are so freaking cute, shooting off snow cannons. And I'm like, God, talk about Christmas magic, talk about creativity. God, no historical authenticity there, but still A+. It's going to sound silly, but my favorite detail of the Christmas Chronicles 2's North Pole is something very subtle, but there is a movie theater in the village, and most of the time the marquee reads that it's playing Elf, but when the elves are going all crazy evil gremlin, it reads Bad Santa. And I just think, oh my God, what a good detail. Very magical. Number 2. The Santa Claus. Okay, I do need to preface this with my very obvious bias because this film is not only my favorite Christmas movie of all time, it is my favorite movie of all time, which might make me way less cool to a lot of you, but guess what? I really don't care. I would argue that I am the biggest fan of this film of all time. I've watched it at least once a week every week since I was about 3 years old. And there was a period of time during this whole quarantine where I fell asleep to this movie about every night for about 3 months. I can and do recite the movie word for word, which has made it a really unenjoyable viewing experience for most people that have watched it with me, but I can't help it. And truth be told, the best compliment I've ever gotten in my entire life by a total stranger was that I looked like Judy the Elf from the Santa Claus, and I definitely started crying. So yes, okay, I am biased, but I need to explain to you guys why I think this North Pole is still a major banger. When I first watched this film as a child, I remember thinking, oh my God, yes, this is it. Like, the film was more documentary to me than anything. Like, absolutely, Santa Claus falls off the roof. That is absolutely how you become Santa Claus. You put on the suit, now you're Santa Claus. I remember feeling this sense of just like acceptance, validation when Tim Allen goes to the chimney, but there's no chimney. So the chimney, like the mantle thing, the fireplace appears, because I didn't have a fireplace where I grew up, and I always was like, oh my God, how does Santa bring my presents? I watched this movie. Oh my God, that's how Santa brings his presents. The freaking fireplace appears because Christmas freaking magic. Incredible. I remember the warm, warm, warm sensation I got when they arrived at the North Pole and the elf comes down and he goes, ah, and the freaking North Pole rises from the snowy mound and he inputs the little code, which is obviously a calculator, but who cares? And they descend into what is is definitely the most humble North Pole of the entire list of 5 that I have today, but it's fine. They descend into this Christmas magic. You have the little kids who are dressed as elves, which makes them the most, like, they look the most real because they're literally children dressed as elves. So A+. You got the kids that kick flip in when they get the ribbons. You got babies in wagons that are actually elves. There's kids hustling about. They have a little attitude. Who's Santa? Who's in charge? You are. Love it. You have Bernard, who, of course, I had a crush on. He was the head elf. Super sexy when you're a child. It was just, to me, oh my God, when the reindeer appear in their stall magically, again, you can tell, love it. It filled me with so much Christmas magic that has been unrivaled since I was a kid. I still watch that film and I still feel that warmth of like, oh my God, Christmas magic is real and this is so lovely. But yeah, this North Pole is very small in size. We pretty much only see the toy factory, some of the inventing room where they hold the sleigh, and then of course Santa's bedroom, where he has those creepy puppets. But my favorite bed, that sleigh bed, is incredible. But even though it is a very humble set, it just feels so real because everything is practical. The toy factory isn't massive. There's just little kids making little toys and you hear a little tinkering of the toys. You know, there's no freaking CGI. The magnifying glass they use to like crank up and show him the actual Santa Claus, like that was real. I love how they have to like try to invent a fireproof suit in case he does, goes down to a chimney so he doesn't burn, or rope so he doesn't fall off a roof. It's just all those little bits and pieces. And then of course you have Judy. Oh, Judy and her freaking hot chocolate and that beautiful pewter mug, in which has a stag on it, where 10,000 years to get it right. Shaken, not stirred, not too hot, extra chocolate. Gotta freaking love it. I want that mug. If anybody has that mug, reproduction of that mug, please just send it to me. To me, the Santa Claus is the living embodiment of Judy's statement of seeing isn't believing, believing is seeing. And although this film is very humble and pared down compared to all the other films we'll be talking about, it feels the most real, which is why I think this film has held up and why it does feel so magical to even kids to this day. Even though they're used to seeing CGI and much larger, more grand North Poles, this one feels like they got something right. And now I'm gonna calm down and go on to number one, because that was a lot. Number one, Noel. Oh my garland creep, Noel is perfect. It's like Thomas Nast in all of his illustrations had a baby with like Thomas Kincaid, and they're like, hey, let's spice it up. Let's bring in a third player. They brought in Disney, and it just created this like Christmas menage a trois that we never knew we needed, that is just so perfect on magic and historical authenticity and creativity. It's like, it's mind-blowing to me. And when I tell you guys, this is so embarrassing, God, you can be honest, I'm completely ruining any credit I had before this episode, but who cares? Whatever, here we are. It's Christmas, it's 2020. We all deserve a little nerding out. I'm gonna level with you guys. When I first watched this movie, I was sobbing. Why were you sobbing, Malia? I'll tell you why. So, story time. I love things that are tiny, or I love feeling tiny, or I love things that are giant that make me feel tiny, or things that are miniature. Now, Noel's North Pole Village looks like the little miniature village they put up at the Seattle Center in Seattle around the holidays that I spent my entire childhood going and looking at and wishing on anything that was holy that I could shrink down and live in. And this is it. This is it. They did it. Noel is it. It is unbelievable. All of the buildings are warm. The village itself is nestled between these, like in this ravine between these mountains. It's beautiful. It's snowy. It's like, has these cute details of like when Noel goes into town, it says like North Pole, a planned community, and all the little cottages, including Santa's cottage, is outside in these very like cute Thomas Kincaid stone, dark wood, stained glass, cozy homes. Like every frame of this film in the North Pole Village, in the houses and on the clothing, there's reindeers on everything, or holly, or snowflakes. It's gilded, it's warm, and like Santa's personal workshop, it's only wooden toys, which is keeping alive Thomas Nast's depiction of Santa being a woodworker. Oh my God, it's so good. The fact that their main mode of transportation is ice skating everywhere. I would kill for Noel's closet. I'm not even gonna pussyfoot around it, guys. I love it. You have a place called like the Eggnoggery, the Polar Express Cafe, where you can get your hot chocolate with peppermint that comes in a silver serving dish. You have, God, what else do you have? You have like Jingles, which is like where you can go shop, or the Elf, what was it? The Elfporium. I mean, just the creativity, the fact that the Elf Council has peppermint gavels. I can't. And then you have all of the amazing Christmas magic and creativity of like the flight simulation and the chimney simulation, where they're trying to teach him to be Santa Claus. You have the Book of Santa, where it's like, you have to sing these notes of this Christmas song to be able to actually go down the chimney without it hurting you. It's just, this movie is full of Christmas magic, and every detail in their North Pole looks like a Thomas Nast illustration. And it just, because of that, and for many other reasons, the fact that we have a female Santa, it's got an amazing heart, it has an amazing message, it is just magical and happy and warm. And obviously I'm a nerd, obviously I love Christmas, obviously I love this movie. It is just a winner. It is such a winner. All 5 of these movies are a winner, but this film, I really feel like just nailed it. And even down to the fact when they're showing like the different Santas throughout time, The original Santa they show is St. Nicholas. Like, they are paying homage to the original historical legend of Christmas. It's all encompassing. It's inclusive. It's happy. It actually does kind of meld Christianity with paganism, with Christmas lore, like the Christmas Chronicles does, and it gets major points for it. Well, creeps, that was a history rant unlike any other. You guys probably think I'm a giant nerd at this point, which is totally accurate. Yes, I love the macabre. I love dark things, and I love making light out of dark situations, but this is also a part of who I am, because I think we all need to be about balance. And I just feel like, especially in a year like 2020, we need all the magic, all the creativity, all the imagination, and all the happy that we can get. In these North Poles, give me that. And so if you haven't seen these films, I encourage you to watch them. If you think I'm totally off the mark, please let me know in the comments. Again, guys, I have so much fun content coming from you guys in 2021. Thank you guys for being a part of this crazy ride, for always supporting me, for being there. Thank you to my patrons on Patreon. If you would like to help support my work, please follow the link below. I cannot tell you how much it means to me when I have a patron, a new patron, the patrons that I've had for years. It's amazing. It means so much. This work isn't easy, but it's so rewarding. I hope all of you guys have an amazing holiday no matter what you celebrate, and I will see you guys in the new year. Chin chin creeps and Buon Natale.